There was recently an advertisement for Tears of the Kingdom that really hit home. It depicts a man of similar age to me living his day to day, doing the usual commute to work and not being able to spend his vital time on the things he enjoys. It was definitely targeted towards my demographic, and although it ends on a positive note, it made it more clear how little time I have for one of my biggest passions. I don't know about you, but games seem to be getting bigger and longer, and I'm increasingly finding it harder to fit them into my busy life. I'm absolutely passionate about video gaming, and it's what I enjoy spending my free time doing the most, but I've come to a point where I see the average completion time of a game that I really want to play, and I'm instantly put off by it. I feel like I'm not able to give the game the attention it needs. If I'm only able to pick it up once a week, for example, then with my fish brain, I've probably completely forgotten what happened the week before. So I've recently started looking at indie games more and more in hope of finding something small to feel that satisfaction of completing a game without the huge investment of time. And with Game Pass having an amazing filter called How Long to Beat, I thought I'd have a scroll. While doing so, a game called A Short Hike stood out to me the most with its average completion time of 1 hour or 4 hours for completionists. Finally, a game I'd actually be able to complete, and maybe in one session too. So let's give it a whirl. Oh yeah, and be warned, there will be spoilers. A Short Hike is an indie game created by Adam Robinson Yu, and is out for all systems. It's an open world exploration game, but don't let that put you off. Open world has become a bit of a trigger word for me in recent years, because to me it implies something large and filled to the brim with quests and activities. But don't worry, A Short Hike is set on a beautiful tiny island, and you can easily see every crevice in mere minutes. You play as Claire, a cute little bird that's gone to Hawk Peak Provincial Park to see her aunt. The first few minutes of the game effectively sets up the plot. You're awaiting a phone call, but you don't have any signal, so you travel to the top of the mountain to find some. It's that simple, simplicity at its finest, and I was immediately hooked. A Short Hike will see you traversing the park by either walking, running, swimming, climbing, or even gliding. You have complete freedom in your actions. If you see somewhere you'd like to go, you can go there whichever way you want. You don't need to stick to the path, you can easily scramble over various terrain, and every surface is climbable, so reaching your destination is no difficult feat. On your travels, you can pick up golden feathers, which effectively acts as your stamina gauge. The more feathers you have, the longer you can climb and run. You can obtain these feathers by randomly finding them, buying them with the coins dotted around the island, or by completing tasks for the other inhabitants. Speaking of the inhabitants, you'll meet other characters along the way, with most having something for you to help with. If you really want to, you can head straight for the summit, but I really do recommend taking some time to speak to the other animals. It's with them that you can expand the gameplay. You can go fishing, you can hit a volleyball with a stick, and you can compete in races. I never experienced any difficulty with the controls. I found them to be very fluid, and I loved how freeing they made me feel. Gliding especially heightened that feeling. It always felt great soaring in the sky and spotting a hidden treasure chest or a new location below. If I had to make one complaint, it would have to be the camera, because it would sometimes flip around if you're entering a different side of the mountain. But this is definitely a nitpick. It rarely happens and doesn't affect the overall experience one bit. While you're busy exploring and questing, I found at times I was taking a brief pause to appreciate and admire the art style. With its cartoony and pixelated appearance coupled with its bright vibrant colours, I found it to be a real treat for the eyes, even more so when it's complemented by the music. Composed by Mark Sparling, the music does an incredible job of adding to the experience. It's very relaxing and calming and gives the world character, making you feel like you're on an adventure. It's definitely a soundtrack I'll be listening to in the background while I'm working. It just puts you at ease and tells you everything is going to be okay. I do just want to quickly go back to the characters because I think they're an integral part of what makes this game so beautiful. I found that each character that offered a quest also offered some important advice and life lessons. A Short Hike is filled to the brim with positivity and encouragement, and the interactions you have help deliver messages that I'm sure you'll be able to relate to in some way. One that stood out to me in particular was the artist. You'll encounter an artist at various locations, and with each interaction they become increasingly dissatisfied with their creation. Each time they'll give up and try to paint something else at a different location, and eventually you learn they're trying to paint something only to please someone else. The penny eventually drops and they finally realise that they shouldn't create to please others, they should only create what pleases them. It was quests like these that genuinely put a smile on my face. It was simple but very effective. I just thought it was sweet and was worth mentioning. After running around the island, it's finally time to reach the top of the mountain and complete the short hike. You take in the beautiful view and forget the reason you actually came up here. To your surprise, your phone rings and you have a lovely chat with your mother. An updraft appears and you're then able to fly all the way down to the bottom. I think this was meant to be a beautiful moment, but it unfortunately wasn't for me. After jumping in the updraft, I thought a cutscene had started where you glide to the bottom and see the paths you took and the friends you made along the way. So I put my controller down and decided to enjoy the ride, only for the poor bird to nosedive into the sea. So I think the moral of the story for me is, don't hike to the top of the mountain, you'll probably fall off and die. I did decide to run to the top and do it again properly, but I think the moment had sadly passed. You can then speak to your aunt and tell her about your adventures before going to bed and ending the game with the slam of a door. No fanfare, no epic conclusion, just a nice, simple ending of a nice, simple game. So a short hike is indeed a short hike, and it was just what I needed. It's relaxing, it's positive, it's encouraging and happy. It was the breath of fresh air that I needed after being overwhelmed and daunted by the sheer size of recent titles. It was satisfying completing a game in one session, and it reminded me of some of the games I played growing up. It doesn't take itself seriously, it gives you freedom to explore, and doesn't beat around the bush with its storytelling. It's a feel-good ride from start to finish, and one I'm very happy I took. I very much recommend a short hike, especially if you're short on time.